Marcus Webb pressed the industrial mop across the marble floor of Chase Global Tower's 22nd level, his reflection ghosting beneath him in the polished stone. The city sprawled beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. Lake Michigan's black expanse, the glittering spine of Michigan Avenue, the distant pulse of Navy Pier's Ferris wheel. 2:15 in the morning. Chicago slept while Marcus worked as he had for 1,247 nights. He counted because counting kept him sane. 1,247 shifts meant 3 years, 5 months, and 11 days since the funeral. 3 years, 5 months, and 11 days since Sarah's Honda Civic spun across 3 lanes of I-90 in a January ice storm and changed everything about what it meant to be a father. The hospital bill sat folded in his uniform pocket, the paper soft from repeated handling. $8,400. Ethan's 4th emergency room visit this year, the most severe according to Dr. Mitchell. The envelope joined 3 others stacked on Marcus's kitchen counter, their combined total reaching $23,600, a number larger than anything Marcus had earned in 2 years of pushing this mop. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Sullivan next door. Ethan had rough night. Nebulizer 2X, sleeping now. He's okay. Marcus stopped mopping. His hands tightened on the handle until his knuckles went white. Ethan was 8 years old and shouldn't have to wake up gasping for air in the middle of the night. 8 years old and already understood that "we can't afford that" meant breathing hurt more than it had to. The 22nd floor belonged to Derek Hammond, VP of Human Resources. Marcus knew this because he emptied Hammond's trash every night, dusted the mahogany desk, wiped down the framed photos of Hammond's family laughing on Aspen slopes. The desk held artifacts of a life Marcus couldn't imagine: an American Express Platinum card left carelessly beside a laptop, a brochure from an Audi dealership, a leather portfolio embossed with gold initials. Marcus had never touched Hammond's paperwork. Respecting privacy was the invisible tax janitors paid for the privilege of existing in spaces that belonged to other people. But tonight, as he emptied the wastepaper basket, his eyes caught the header on a document: hiring initiative, front desk expansion. He shouldn't look. He bent to tie his shoe instead, giving himself permission to glance without touching. The page listed qualifications, salary range, benefits package. $52,000 annually. Full medical, dental, and vision coverage starting day 1. $52,000. More than double what Marcus earned. Medical coverage. The words blurred as his exhausted brain did math. It had done 1,000 times before. Rent, groceries, utilities, car insurance. Ethan's prescriptions, the payment plan that chipped away at medical debt like water eroding stone. Marcus finished the floor and moved to the elevator bank. 3:30 in the morning. 2.5 hours left in his shift. He rode down to 15, pushed his cart into the HR department's reception area, and began the familiar routine: empty trash, vacuum, carpet, dust surfaces, polish glass. The employee bulletin board hung near the elevators, cork surface covered in layers of announcements, reminders. Motivational posters about teamwork and excellence. Marcus had wiped this board's frame 900 times, maybe more. He'd never read what it said. Tonight, Derek Hammond stood before it, attaching a fresh flyer with pushpins. Hammond wore charcoal slacks and a white Oxford shirt. Despite the hour, apparently, VP work didn't respect normal schedules either. He didn't acknowledge Marcus. People rarely did. Janitors occupied the same category as furniture necessary, invisible beneath notice. Hammond finished pinning his notice and walked to the elevator without a glance in Marcus's direction. The elevator doors closed. Marcus was alone. He approached the bulletin board. The new flyer was printed on bright white paper. Corporate fonts stark against the background. Front desk coordinator. $52,000 year plus full benefits package. Medical, dental, vision insurance included, immediate opening. Below, in smaller text, customer service experience required. Professional demeanor and communication skills essential. Ability to represent company values to clients and partners. High school diploma or equivalent. Marcus read it 3 times. No mention of a college degree. No bachelor's required. Just experience, professionalism, and a high school diploma, all things Marcus possessed. His hands shook. He pulled out his iPhone 6S, its screen cracked in the upper right corner from the time Ethan dropped it on playground concrete. The camera app took 4 seconds to load. Marcus photographed the flyer, the flash reflecting off the bulletin board's glass cover. In that reflection, he saw himself a 35-year-old man in navy blue custodial uniform. Dark circles beneath his eyes from years of inverted sleep schedules. Shoulders slightly hunched from 3.5 years of bending over mops and vacuum cleaners. Behind him, the empty hallway stretched toward offices where people made $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 and never thought twice about $8 copays or which generic medication worked almost as well as the name brand. 4 minutes and 30 seconds passed before Marcus moved. He counted them. When your entire existence balanced on a knife edge between keeping your head above water and drowning in debt, you counted everything. Seconds. Dollars. Breaths. The photograph saved to his phone. Marcus pocketed the device and returned to his cart. He had 6 more offices to clean before his shift ended at 6. Marcus arrived home at 6:45, his Honda Civic's check engine light glowing its permanent accusation from the dashboard. The car had 230,000 miles and a prayer holding it together. The apartment building stood in South Loop close enough to Ethan's elementary school that Marcus could walk his son there on mornings when the Civic refused to start. $950 a month for 1 bedroom, a combined living room and kitchen, and a bathroom barely large enough to turn around in. The cheapest place Marcus could find that didn't require Ethan to change schools. He unlocked the door quietly. Ethan slept in the bedroom, the only bedroom. Marcus had claimed the sofa bed 3 years ago and never questioned the arrangement. Fathers slept where there was space left over. The nebulizer sat on Ethan's nightstand, the mask still damp from its 2:15 usage. Marcus picked it up, rinsed it in the bathroom sink, set it to dry. His son's breathing came steady now, the wheeze that had terrified Marcus for years, finally absent. Symbicort would fix that permanently, Dr. Mitchell had said. $340 a month without insurance, $30 to $50 with coverage. The laptop lived on the kitchen table, a Dell so old it took 4 minutes to boot. Marcus made coffee in the French press Mrs. Sullivan had given him last Christmas, cheaper than the Keurig pods everyone else used, and opened Microsoft Word while the machine hummed to life. A cover letter. How many years since he'd written one? The cursor blinked expectant and judgmental. Dear hiring manager, I am writing to apply for the front desk coordinator position. I have 8 years of experience in hospitality and delete. Too generic. It sounded like every template on the internet soulless and interchangeable. My name is Marcus Webb, and I currently work at your building as a night custodian. I believe my extensive customer service background makes me an ideal candidate. Delete. Lead with being a janitor. They'd throw his application away before finishing the first sentence. I am applying for the front desk coordinator role. For 8 years, I served as assistant manager at Riverside Hotel, where I managed guest relations, resolved complaints, and trained front desk staff. Better. Factual. Professional. But it felt hollow, like he was describing someone else's life. 7 o'clock. Ethan's alarm would sound in an hour. Marcus saved the document and stared at the cursor. His head ached from lack of sleep. His eyes burned, and every word he typed felt wrong, either too desperate or not desperate enough. Footsteps in the hallway. Ethan appeared, rubbing his eyes, his Iron Man pajamas wrinkled from restless sleep. The boy stopped in the doorway and coughed, the sound wet and thick. Marcus was already moving, reaching for the nebulizer before Ethan's second cough finished. Ethan sat at the table without being asked, the routine so familiar it required no discussion. Marcus poured the saline solution, attached the mouthpiece, switched on the machine. White mist poured out, and Ethan breathed it in with the practiced patience of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Ethan's eyes found the laptop screen. The cover letter document sat open, the header visible, application for front desk coordinator position. The boy's eyes widened. He couldn't speak with the nebulizer mask on, but his gaze asked the question clearly enough. Marcus sat beside him. "I'm applying for a new job, day shift, better pay." Ethan's eyebrows rose. He gestured at the laptop, then at himself, a question. "Front desk at the building where I work now. If I got it." Marcus stopped himself from making promises he couldn't keep. "If they gave me an interview, it would mean health insurance. Real insurance. The kind that covers your medicine." Ethan went still. The nebulizer hissed its rhythmic fog. 15 minutes of breathing treatment, and the boy understood exactly what insurance meant, because children growing up with chronic illness learned the vocabulary of adult failure early. When the timer dinged, Ethan removed the mask. His voice came hoarse but clear. "They'll hire you, Dad. You're the best." Something cracked inside Marcus's chest. Ethan said it with such certainty, such absolute faith, as if being a good person naturally led to good outcomes. 8 years old, and he still believed the world was fair. Marcus pulled his son close. "Thank you, buddy. How about Eggo waffles for breakfast?" Ethan nodded, already reaching for the TV remote. Cartoons filled the small apartment with noise that felt like normalcy. Marcus returned to the laptop. He had 90 minutes before he needed to drive Ethan to school. 90 minutes to create a document that would convince strangers he deserved a chance. He wrote 7 drafts. Each one felt wrong in a different way. Too confident, too meek, too detailed, too vague. Finally, at 8:43, he settled on something that felt true. "I am writing to apply for the front desk coordinator position at Chase Global Corporation. For 8 years, I served as assistant manager at Riverside Hotel, where I managed guest relations for a 200-room property, resolved customer complaints with a 95% satisfaction rate, and trained 23 front desk staff members. I handled high-pressure situations, including VIP guests, billing disputes, and emergency scenarios with professionalism and calm. For the past 3 years, I have worked night shift at Chase Global Tower. During this time, I have gained comprehensive knowledge of building operations security protocols and the needs of your corporate clients and partners. I understand the rhythm of this company and the standards of service it requires. I am detail-oriented, reliable, and committed to representing organizations with integrity. I believe my combination of customer service expertise and familiarity with Chase Global makes me uniquely qualified for this role. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Marcus Webb." He read it 6 times. Attached his resume, 1 page, listing 8 years at Riverside Hotel and 3 years in building operations night shift. A euphemism, but not a lie. 9:47. His cursor hovered over the submit button. Marcus thought about Ethan asking last week when they could afford the good inhaler. He thought about Dr. Mitchell's careful explanation that Symbicort would prevent the attacks that sent them to emergency rooms 4 times a year. He thought about the number at the bottom of the hospital bills, $23,600. He clicked submit. "Your application has been submitted. You will receive a confirmation email shortly." The email arrived in his inbox 15 seconds later. Marcus stared at it, feeling like he'd just stepped off a cliff without checking whether there was ground below or empty air. It's Monday night. Marcus cleaned floors 15 through 20. He checked his email 14 times during his shift. No response. Tuesday afternoon, he took Ethan to Northwestern Memorial for a follow-up appointment. Dr. Mitchell examined Ethan's lungs, listened with the stethoscope that had become as familiar as furniture, checked oxygen saturation levels on the finger monitor. Dr. Mitchell was 50-something with gray hair and the kind of tired eyes that came from delivering bad news to parents who couldn't afford good outcomes. He'd treated Ethan since the first attack 3 years ago, always gentle, always honest. He sat down after the exam, which was never a good sign. Standing meant quick and easy. Sitting meant complicated. Ethan's asthma is worsening. The triggers are becoming more frequent, the attacks more severe. I want to switch him to Symbicort. It's significantly more effective than the albuterol he's currently using. Marcus already knew the question that came next, but he asked anyway because not asking felt like giving up. How much? Dr. Mitchell's expression tightened with the particular discomfort of doctors forced to be insurance adjusters. $340 a month without coverage. With insurance, you'd be looking at $30 to $50 co-pays. Marcus swallowed. The motion hurt like there was a stone lodged in his throat. The albuterol still works though, right? It works. But Ethan will continue to struggle. More frequent attacks. Each severe episode increases the risk of long-term lung damage. Marcus nodded. There was nothing else to say. Dr. Mitchell knew the situation. He'd waived fees before, stretched payment plans, done everything a doctor could do within a system designed to extract maximum profit from minimum options. They left the hospital in silence. Marcus drove the Civic through Chicago afternoon traffic, the check engine light glowing, the radio broken, so there was nothing but road noise and the sound of Ethan's breathing. Ethan stared out the window at Lakeshore Drive, watching joggers and cyclists enjoy the kind of October day that made people forget winter was coming. "Dad," Ethan's voice was small. "When can we afford the good medicine?" Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. "Soon, buddy. Very soon." Ethan didn't look away from the window. "You said that last month. You said it in May. It's October now." And there it was. The accusation an 8-year-old shouldn't have to make, but couldn't avoid, because chronic illness taught children to count time in medication refills and emergency room visits. Marcus had no answer. How do you explain to your son that soon might never come? That $340 a month was the distance between breathing easy and not breathing at all, and you couldn't cross it, no matter how hard you worked. They drove home in silence. Marcus made dinner spaghetti with jarred sauce, garlic bread from the grocery store, bakery salad from a bag. Ethan ate without complaint, did homework at the kitchen table, took his evening nebulizer treatment, brushed his teeth, and went to bed. Marcus sat on the sofa and stared at his email inbox on his phone. Still nothing. Wednesday night, 11:45. Marcus was cleaning the executive bathroom on 18 when his phone buzzed. Email. Subject line: Interview Invitation. Chase Global Corporation. His hands shook so badly he almost dropped the phone in the toilet he'd just scrubbed. Dear Mr. Webb, thank you for your application for the front desk coordinator position. We would like to invite you for an interview on Tuesday, October 17th at 10:00 a.m. with our hiring team. Please confirm your availability. Regards, Jessica Lynn, HR Specialist, Chase Global Corporation. Marcus read it 6 times. Each reading he expected the words to change to reveal some mistake or joke, but they stayed solid, real, impossible. 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. 4 days away. He typed his response immediately before the opportunity could evaporate. Thank you. I confirm my availability for October 17th at 10:00 a.m. Send. Then he called Mrs. Sullivan. The phone rang 4 times before she answered, her voice heavy with sleep. Marcus, it's midnight, dear. Mrs. Sullivan, I'm so sorry. I have an interview Tuesday morning. Can you watch Ethan? I'll pay you. Of course I'll watch him. Don't be silly about paying. Her voice sharpened with alertness. An interview for what? Front desk position. Here, at the building. Silence on the line, the kind that felt like someone recalibrating their understanding of reality. Marcus, that's wonderful. Wait there. Don't go anywhere. She hung up. Marcus stood in the executive bathroom, mop in hand, phone still pressed to his ear, wondering if he'd just hallucinated the entire conversation. 10 minutes later, Someone knocked on the 18th floor bathroom door. Marcus opened it to find Mrs. Sullivan standing there in a flower print bathrobe, her white hair in curlers holding something wrapped in dry cleaner's plastic. "How did you security let you up? Tony knows me. I bring him cookies every Christmas." She thrust the plastic-wrapped bundle at Marcus. "This was Henry's, my husband. He wore it for 40 years from his first interview at General Motors in 1965 until he retired from Ford in 2005. Marcus took it carefully. A suit, charcoal gray classic, cut the kind of garment that survived decades because it was built to last rather than follow trends. "Mrs. Sullivan, I can't." She held up a hand, silencing him. "Henry was a good man, like you. He came from Ireland with nothing but the clothes on his back. Worked the Ford assembly line for 40 years. He bought this suit with his first real paycheck, $85 in 1965, which was a fortune then. He told me, 'Patty, this suit will bring me luck.' And it did. 40 years of steady work, 3 daughters through college, a pension that let us live with dignity." Her eyes were bright with tears that didn't fall. "Henry died in 2012. I've kept this suit for 14 years waiting. We had 3 daughters, no sons. No one to give it to. Until now." She pressed the suit into Marcus's hands. "Wear it. Go to your interview. Make Henry proud. Make me proud. And most importantly, make that boy of yours proud." Marcus couldn't speak. His throat had closed completely, his eyes burned, and all he could do was nod. Mrs. Sullivan patted his shoulder and left her slippers shuffling across the marble floor toward the elevator. Marcus stood alone in the hallway holding a dead man's suit, feeling its weight like a sacred trust passed from one working man to another, across the gap of mortality and hope. Thursday through Sunday, Marcus prepared with the intensity of someone who understood this was the only chance he'd get. Thursday, he tried on the suit. It was slightly large in the shoulders. Henry Sullivan had been a bigger man, but it fit well enough. He took it to an alteration shop in Chinatown where the seamstress charged $25 to take in the shoulders and adjust the hem. She promised it ready by Saturday. Friday, Marcus went to Goodwill and found black dress shoes for $18. He bought them, brought them home, and spent 2 hours polishing them with kiwi shoe polish until he could see his reflection in the leather. Saturday, he picked up the altered suit. Back home, he ironed it with obsessive care, adjusting the iron's temperature precisely, using steam for every crease, hanging it immediately to prevent wrinkles. Ethan watched from the sofa, quiet and observant. "Why are you so careful, Dad?" "Because this suit is important, buddy. It belonged to Mr. Sullivan. He was a good man who worked hard his whole life. I want to honor him by taking care of what he built." Ethan processed this with the seriousness he brought to everything. "He wants you to get the job." "I think so." "You will. You're the best at everything." Marcus smiled, despite the anxiety knotting his stomach. If only the world worked the way 8-year-olds believed it did. Sunday, he spent 3 hours at the public library using their computers to research Chase Global Corporation. The building's internet was too slow, and he needed everything he could find. What he learned. Founded in 1998 by Victoria Chase, who was 24 at the time. She'd started with a small courier service, $5,000 borrowed from a credit union, and a business degree from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, a state school not Ivy League. 9 venture capitalists had rejected her. The reasons appeared in an interview she'd given to Chicago Business Journal in 2005. "Too young, wrong school, no connections." One of them actually said, "Honey, come back when you have an MBA from a real university." The 10th investor was Grant Peterson, a former factory worker who'd started a small investment fund. He gave Victoria $500,000. His quote stayed with Marcus. "She didn't have the background they were looking for, but she had fire. I recognized it because I'd had the same fire when I started." From 1998 to present, Victoria had built the company from a courier service into a logistics empire. Revenue $2.1 billion. Employees 12,000. The company's mission statement appeared on every page of their website, merit over background. Performance over pedigree. We measure people by what they do, not where they came from. Marcus read that line 5 times. If it was true, if Victoria Chase actually believed what her marketing department printed, then maybe he had a chance. If it was corporate bullshit, he'd find out Tuesday morning. Sunday night after Ethan went to bed, Marcus stood before the bathroom mirror wearing Henry Sullivan's suit. He practiced. "Why do you want this position?" His reflection stared back uncertain. "I want the opportunity to serve Chase Global in a role where I can contribute most effectively. I have customer service experience and an understanding of building operations. I believe I can add value." The words sounded hollow, rehearsed, like someone reading from a script they didn't believe. Try again. "Why should we hire you?" Marcus took a breath, forgot the script, spoke truth. "I know how to treat people with dignity. I know how to handle a crisis without panicking. I know this building from basement to roof. I don't have a college degree, but I have 8 years proving I show up, work hard, and treat every person from CEO to delivery driver with respect. That's the value I bring." Better. Authentic. The kind of answer that couldn't be faked because it came from lived experience rather than interview prep websites. He practiced for another hour answering questions he anticipated, learning to speak with confidence that didn't cross into arrogance. By midnight, exhaustion blurred his vision and the words started running together. Marcus looked at himself one final time. A 35-year-old man in a dead stranger's suit, dark circles under his eyes from 3 years of night shifts, calluses on his hands from industrial cleaning chemicals. But standing straight, meeting his own gaze. "I am not asking them for a chance. I am proving that not hiring me is their mistake." The words felt right, like armor, like truth. So Tuesday morning arrived with the weight of everything Marcus had ever wanted and feared. He woke at 5:30 despite not sleeping until 3. Showered, shaved carefully using the cheap aftershave Ethan had bought him last Father's Day with money saved from his allowance. Got dressed in the suit, the white shirt he'd bought from Target for $12, the tie he'd borrowed from Robert Martinez at the front desk, who'd said, "Good luck, brother," when Marcus asked. 6:30. Ethan woke to his alarm, coughed twice, and Marcus already had the nebulizer ready. The morning routine proceeded in familiar silence, breathing treatment breakfast cartoons. 7:15. Marcus drove Ethan to school in the Civic with its check engine light and its 230,000 miles of accumulated history. At the drop-off zone, Ethan turned before getting out. "You're going to do great, Dad." "Thanks, buddy. Remember to smile. And stand up straight. Mrs. Henderson says standing straight makes you look confident." Marcus managed a laugh. "Thanks, Coach. I love you." "Love you too." Ethan climbed out, backpack bouncing, and joined the stream of children flowing toward the school entrance. He turned once to wave. Marcus waved back. Then he drove downtown, parked in a public garage for $18 flat rate, and walked 2 blocks to Chase Global Tower. 8:45. He was an hour and 15 minutes early, but arriving early meant controlling for traffic, parking problems, and every other variable that could destroy this opportunity. Marcus bought coffee at the Starbucks across from the tower, a tall Pike place, for $2.50, the cheapest thing on the menu, and sat by the window watching the building where he'd worked 1,247 nights. Chase Global Tower rose 30 floors, glass and steel, catching morning sun. American and Illinois flags waving at the entrance. Floors 1 through 5 housed retail and banking. Floors 6 through 30 belonged to Chase Global offices. Marcus sipped coffee he couldn't taste and watched people enter the building. They moved with the confidence of belonging, suits expensive, and well-fitted phones, new and uncracked coffee cups from the place that charged $7 instead of $2.50. 9:30. Marcus crossed the street and entered the lobby. The marble floor gleamed, reflecting everything: the 40-foot ceiling with its chandelier, the security desk, the elevator banks, the directory listing companies and floors. Marcus had mopped this floor 1,000 times. Today he walked across it as someone different. Tony sat at the security desk. He looked up, did a double take, and his face broke into a huge smile. "Marcus, man, you clean up nice. What's the occasion?" "Job interview." "Tony, front desk position." Tony stood extending his hand across the desk. "No kidding, Marcus, that's amazing. You know this building better than anybody here. You got this brother." They shook hands firm, equal. "Seriously, man, I've watched you work 3 years. You're solid. They'd be lucky to have you." The words hit differently than when Ethan or Mrs. Sullivan said them. This was a colleague, someone who'd observed Marcus's work ethic rather than his relationship. Validation from someone who owed him nothing felt like oxygen. "Thanks, Tony. That means a lot. Go get 'em." Marcus rode the elevator to 15. The doors opened onto the HR department, bright hallways with glass walls, white floors, recessed lighting, abstract art on walls. The space Marcus cleaned at 2 in the morning when it was empty now buzzed with activity. Employees moved past carrying tablets and coffee cups, wearing confidence like a second skin. The reception desk sat behind glass, blonde woman in her late 20s typing at dual monitors. Her nameplate read Lauren Mitchell, HR receptionist. Marcus knew because he'd dusted it 900 times. She looked up with a professional smile. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "Marcus Webb. I have a 10 o'clock interview." She checked her computer, no recognition in her eyes. She'd never noticed the janitor who cleaned around her desk. "Yes, Mr. Webb, please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." Marcus sat in a black leather chair near the window, overlooking Chicago's skyline. 4 other people waited, obviously candidates. A woman in her mid-20s wore a sharp navy Ralph Lauren suit, typing rapidly on an iPhone 15 Pro. Her briefcase had a tag Amber Chen USC. A man also mid-20s wore gray Tom Ford, scrolling an iPad with the casual comfort of someone for whom expense was irrelevant. A woman in her early 30s reviewed notes on a tablet, burgundy dress, immaculate Coach bag beside her. A man in his late 20s bounced his leg nervously, black suit standard and unremarkable. Then Marcus' 35 suit, borrowed from a dead man phone with a cracked screen. Hands bearing the subtle calluses of someone who'd spent years gripping mop handles and lifting trash bags. He felt like a counterfeit among originals. But he remembered Tony's words. Mrs. Sullivan's gift. Ethan's faith. Dr. Mitchell's careful explanation of what insurance would mean. Marcus sat straight, breathed steady, waited. At 10 o'clock exactly, Lauren called out, "Mr. Webb, they're ready for you." Marcus stood, followed Lauren through the hallway to conference room C. She knocked, opened the door, gestured him inside. The room was bright and cold. A long glass table divided the space. 3 people sat on the far side. 3 empty chairs faced them. Derek Hammond occupied the center seat. Marcus had cleaned his office every night for 3 years, though Hammond had never once acknowledged his existence. Navy suit, Hermes tie, Rolex watch. His face showed professional neutrality, eyes fixed on the folder before him rather than the man entering the room. To Hammond's left sat Jessica Lynn, Asian American, early 30s, charcoal suit, iPad, open expression, suggesting she'd memorized every regulation in the employee handbook. To his right, Thomas Brennan, early 50s, Irish American gray suit, face set in stern evaluation mode. Derek spoke without looking up. "Mr. Webb, please have a seat." Marcus sat in the center chair facing them. The glass table stretched between them like a canyon. The air conditioning poured cold air from ceiling vents. Marcus felt the suit suddenly thin against his skin. Derek opened the folder, Marcus's resume, and finally looked up. His eyes scanned Marcus's face with zero recognition. 3 years of cleaning this man's office, and Marcus remained invisible. Mr. Webb, thank you for coming in. I see you worked at Riverside Hotel for 8 years. Tell us about that experience. Marcus had prepared for this. I started at Riverside in 2007 as a front desk associate. After 3 years, I was promoted to shift supervisor, then assistant manager. I managed a team of 6 people, oversaw guest relations for a 200-room property. We maintained 4.8 out of 5 stars on TripAdvisor for 5 consecutive years. Thomas Brennan nodded, making notes. Impressive rating. What was your approach to maintaining that standard, training and accountability? I debriefed with my team after every shift what went well, what needed improvement. I trained staff to recognize guest needs before they had to ask. And I led by example. If a difficult situation arose, I handled it personally rather than delegating. Jessica typed notes, nodding. Can you give an example of a difficult situation you managed? Marcus delivered the story he'd prepared, 2 in the morning, middle of a heat wave. VIP guest, CEO of a tech company called the front desk. His air conditioning had failed and Chicago was hitting 95 degrees. He had a presentation at 7 that morning with potential investors, needed sleep desperately. All other rooms were fully booked. I couldn't repair the AC in the middle of the night, so I upgraded him to our only available suite, normally $400 versus the $150 room he'd booked. I waived the upgrade fee. I personally moved his luggage. I arranged a wake-up call and complimentary breakfast room service. He got 4 hours of sleep, his presentation went well, and he wrote a thank you letter to the general manager specifically mentioning my name. He became a regular customer, booking with us 6 more times the following year. Thomas looked impressed. Strong problem solving. Derek made notes, face still neutral. How did you handle employee conflicts? Directly but fairly. If 2 staff members had an issue, I met with each privately, first heard both perspectives, then mediated together. I focused on behavior, not personality. And I always followed up, never let conflicts fester. Jessica, how many staff did you train during your tenure? 23 front desk employees over 8 years. Several are still there. Others were promoted to management positions at other hotels. For 12 minutes, the interview proceeded smoothly. Marcus answered questions with confidence earned from actual experience. The 3 interviewers seemed engaged, taking notes, asking follow-ups. Then the atmosphere shifted. Subtle, a change in pressure like weather turning before a storm. Derek closed the folder, leaned back, fingers steepled. Mr. Webb, where did you complete your degree? The moment of truth arrived faster than Marcus expected. He paused 2 seconds, long enough to be honest, short enough to avoid seeming evasive. I didn't attend college. I started working right after high school. My father passed away when I was 18, heart attack. I needed to support my mother and younger sister. I took the job at Riverside to help us hold bills. Silence. 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. Derek wrote something lengthy in his notes. Jessica and Thomas exchanged a look, brief, wordless, but Marcus saw the shift. Thomas's posture changed, leaning back slightly. Jessica's typing slowed. The tone changed from potential colleague to something else. Something less. Jessica spoke next, her voice still professional but cooler. Mr. Webb, what is your current employment status? Another moment of truth. Marcus could lie. Say between positions or consulting, or any of the euphemisms people used to avoid admitting reality. But if he had to lie to get this job, he didn't want it. I work night shift, building operations, here, at Chase Global Tower. Jessica blinked. Building operations, custodial services. I'm a janitor. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 3.5 years. The air in the room changed completely. Derek's pen stopped moving. Thomas leaned fully back, arms crossing. Jessica's professional smile disappeared. Marcus watched them recalibrate their entire understanding of who sat across from them. Not a candidate. A janitor in a borrowed suit who'd wandered into the wrong room. Derek spoke with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, his tone carrying the particular patronizing quality reserved for explaining obvious things to simple people. "Mr. Webb, I appreciate your honesty, but I have to ask, this is a client-facing position. You would be the first person our corporate partners see when they enter this building. Do you think your current background aligns with the professional image we want to project?" The unspoken question screamed louder than the spoken one. "Can a man who cleans toilets represent a billion-dollar company?" Marcus kept his voice steady despite his hands gripping the chair arms beneath the table. "I believe 8 years of customer service experience demonstrates my ability to represent any organization professionally. The position I currently hold doesn't define the skills I possess. I know how to treat people with respect, handle high-pressure situations, and maintain a professional demeanor." Jessica, unconvinced, "Do you have any certifications, formal training in hospitality management?" "Anything documented." "No formal certifications, but I have 8 years of practical experience managing customer relationships, training employees, and resolving conflicts in high-stakes environments. Results speak louder than certificates." Thomas spoke for the first time since the AC story, his voice carrying skepticism like a weight. "Mr. Webb, the front desk coordinator requires technical skills, computer systems, scheduling software, CRM platforms. What's your experience with those?" "I used reservation systems at Riverside Opera PMS. I'm comfortable with Microsoft Office email basic databases. I learned technology quickly." Thomas, unimpressed. "Those systems are 15 years old. Ours are significantly more advanced." Derek glanced at his watch, subtle, but Marcus caught it. "Mr. Webb, we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today." Jessica. "Yes, thank you for coming in." Thomas. "We'll be in touch." "We'll be in touch" was a death sentence wrapped in politeness, the corporate equivalent of, "It's not you, it's me." Marcus sat across from 3 people who'd just decided he wasn't one of them. Not because he lacked skills, because he belonged to a different class, the wrong class. He could beg. "Please, I need this job. My son is sick. I'll work harder than anyone." He could explain. "I lost my wife. I had no choice. I'm a good father doing my best." He could grovel, but Marcus Webb had one thing money couldn't buy: dignity. He stood, shoulders straight, head high. "Thank you for your time. I understand." Not, "Please reconsider." Not, "Can I explain more?" Not, "I really need this." Just, "I understand." He turned and walked to the door. His hand found the doorknob. Derek's voice followed him. "We'll contact you within a week, Mr. Webb." Marcus didn't turn around. "That won't be necessary. I understand your decision. Thank you again." He opened the door, stepped through, closed it behind him with a quiet click that sounded final as a coffin lid. In the hallway alone, Marcus allowed his hands to shake. He made them into fists, forcing them still. Then he walked toward the elevator bank. 52 steps from conference room C to the elevators. He counted each one because counting kept him from thinking about Ethan, asking when they could afford the good medicine, about Mrs. Sullivan's husband's suit hanging on his shoulders, like borrowed hope about the hospital bills stacked on his kitchen counter. The elevator arrived. He stepped inside. In the polished steel doors, his reflection showed a man in a suit that didn't belong to him, eyes marked by 3 years of night shifts, shoulders slightly hunched from years of bending over mops. A man dressed as something he wasn't. The elevator descended. Marcus closed his eyes. He'd tried. God knew he'd tried. But trying wasn't enough. It had never been enough. The doors opened at the lobby. Marcus stepped out into the vast space with its marble floors and soaring ceiling. Employees moved past briefcases, confidence belonging. A world he'd never truly enter. Tony looked up from the security desk, saw Marcus's face, and didn't say anything. just nodded with understanding that needed no words. Marcus walked toward the main entrance, glass doors with Chase Global's logo etched in them. Beyond Chicago sunlight and a city that didn't care about one man's failed hope. His hand touched the push bar. The metal was cold. He prepared to step outside, return to his car, pick up Ethan from school, resume the life he'd tried to escape. He pushed the door open half an inch. "Marcus Webb, please stop." A woman's voice, sharp, urgent, echoing across the lobby's marble acoustics. Marcus froze. His hand stayed on the push bar. The door hung half-open, Chicago air meeting conditioned interior. He turned. A woman stood 30 feet away in the center of the lobby, breathing hard like she'd been running. Navy suit fitted perfectly. Heels 3 inches high. Dark hair pulled back tight. Face flushed from exertion. Her ID badge caught lobby light. Victoria Chase, CEO and founder. Marcus had seen her photo in company newsletters, seen her picture on the website. Never seen her in person. Victoria Chase, billionaire builder of empires, employer of 12,000 people, stood in the lobby staring directly at him. Behind her, the elevator indicator showed it had just arrived at floor 1 from floor 30. She'd run down from the executive suite. 30 floors. For what Victoria stepped forward, heels clicking marble. She stopped 10 feet away. Her eyes, sharp, intelligent, missing nothing, scanned Marcus from head to feet. She looked at the suit, at his face, at his hands. Then she spoke, voice firm, but not hostile. "Mr. Webb, I need to speak with you, please. Step back inside." Marcus, confused and exhausted, and at the absolute end of hope, could barely form words. "Ma'am, I already finished my interview," Victoria cut him off. "I know. I saw it." "What?" "All of it. I saw all 32 minutes. The door swung shut behind Marcus as his hand fell away from the push bar. Victoria Chase had watched his interview. The CEO had been watching. And now she was here. Victoria gestured toward the fountain area away from the security desk where Tony pretended not to watch. Marcus followed his mind, struggling to process what was happening. CEOs didn't chase janitors through lobbies. This didn't make sense. They stopped near the decorative fountain, its water trickling over stacked granite slabs in a sound designed to suggest tranquility. Nothing about this moment felt tranquil. Victoria stood facing him, not sitting, maintaining equal ground rather than the power dynamics her office would have imposed. Her breathing had steadied, but strands of hair had escaped the severe bun, and her makeup showed the slight smudge of someone who'd just descended 30 floors faster than elevators allowed. "Mr. Webb, 6 months ago, I launched a culture audit. After receiving multiple complaints about hiring bias across departments, I decided to monitor our recruitment process personally. We installed observation cameras in interview rooms disclosed in the consent forms candidates sign. I have remote access to watch interviews from my office." Marcus tried to make his brain work through exhaustion and emotional whiplash. "You were watching my interview. Today I'd scheduled reviews of 15 interviews across various positions. Yours was 9th on the list. When I saw you walk into conference room C, She paused, something flickering across her expression. "I recognized you." Marcus's confusion deepened. "We've never met." "Not formally, but 2 months ago you saved Eleanor Whitmore's life." The name meant nothing. Marcus's face must have shown it. Eleanor Whitmore, 79 years old. Our most important partner, $67 million annual contract. She nearly collapsed in this lobby from hypoglycemia. You helped her. Do you remember? Memory surfaced slowly. August, early morning near the end of his shift. An elderly woman stumbling near the security desk, disoriented and pale. Marcus had seen the signs: sweating, trembling, confusion. Ethan's medication sometimes caused similar episodes. I gave her candy from my pocket, glucose tablets. I carry them for my son. You recognized medical distress and responded immediately. Eleanor told me about the janitor who saved her life, said I should find you and thank you properly. I intended to. Victoria's expression tightened with something like shame. But the Midwest merger crisis exploded the next day. A potential competitor acquisition consumed my attention for weeks. Finding you to say thank you, it slipped, I forgot. Marcus absorbed this. A billionaire CEO had forgotten about the janitor who'd helped her most valuable partner. The hierarchy of importance was clear. That doesn't explain why you're here now. Because when I saw you walk into that interview room this morning, I recognized your face from reviewing the security footage after Eleanor mentioned you. I pulled up the August recording to confirm. It was you. So I decided to watch your entire interview. And Victoria's expression hardened into something cold and determined. And I watched Derek Hammond and his team treat you exactly the way Eleanor warned me this company was becoming. Judging people by credentials instead of character. She stepped closer, her voice dropping but intensity increasing. I watched Derek dismiss 8 years of your experience the moment you mentioned not having a degree. I watched Jessica's face change when you said you work custodial. I watched Thomas cross his arms and shut down. They didn't reject your qualifications, Mr. Webb. They rejected who you are, and that is unacceptable. Marcus felt his defensive walls slam into place. He'd had enough pity for one day. If you're offering me this job out of gratitude because I helped Eleanor, I don't want it. I don't need charity. Victoria's response came sharp and immediate. This isn't about gratitude, Mr. Webb. This is about accountability. I just witnessed my own company violate the values I founded it on. That's a system failure, and I will not let it stand. So what do you want from me? I want Derek and his team to explain themselves. I want them held accountable for bias that contradicts everything this company claims to believe. And I want you present when it happens. Marcus studied her face. Victoria Chase showed no warmth, no sympathetic smile, none of the condescending kindness people usually offered when they felt sorry for someone. She treated him like an equal wronged by an injustice that offended her sense of order. You're the CEO. You can fire them, overrule them, do whatever you want. Why do you need me here? Because if I handle this behind closed doors, nothing changes. The bias remains. But if I address it publicly in front of the person wronged, it sends a clear message that this behavior isn't tolerated. Marcus made a decision he'd probably regret. All right, I'll stay. But I want one thing clear. If you offer me anything after this, I want to earn it. No special treatment because of Eleanor. No free passes. Deal. Victoria's mouth curved into a small, genuine smile, the first warmth she'd shown. Deal. She pulled out her phone and made a call. Derek, lobby, immediately. Bring Jessica Lynn and Thomas Brennan with you. Derek's voice carried through the phone, confused and wary. Ms. Chase, I'm in the middle of... Now, Derek. She ended the call. Marcus's stomach knotted. Whatever happened next would determine whether he'd burned his bridges completely or found a path forward. Neither option felt safe. 3 minutes later, the elevator chimed. Derek, Jessica, and Thomas emerged, their expressions ranging from confused to apprehensive. They scanned the lobby and spotted Victoria standing with Marcus near the fountain. Derek's eyes widened slightly, seeing Marcus still present. He led the other two across the marble floor, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. Derek addressed only Victoria, his professional smile carefully in place. Ms. Chase, is there a problem? Yes. I need you to explain why you rejected Mr. Webb. Derek glanced at Marcus, then back to Victoria, choosing his words with visible care. We determined he didn't meet the qualifications for the position. Be specific. Which qualifications exactly? He lacks a college degree and formal hospitality training. Does the job posting require a degree? Silence stretched for 3 seconds. Jessica jumped in, her voice carrying defensive undertones. Not explicitly, but we determined a degree was preferable for someone in a client-facing role representing our company image. Victoria cut her off mid-sentence. Who determined that show me in writing where that standard exists in our hiring policy? Jessica's mouth opened, then closed. No answer came. Victoria turned to Thomas. You manage front desk operations. Does Robert Martinez have a college degree? Thomas shifted his weight, uncomfortable under scrutiny. No, ma'am. How long has Robert worked for us? 6 years. His performance reviews? Thomas's voice dropped quieter. Excellent. Consistently excellent. Victoria pivoted back to Derek. So we have a current employee without a degree performing excellently in an essentially identical role. Yet the three of you rejected Mr. Webb, who has 8 years of hotel management experience. Explain the logic. Employees passing through the lobby slowed their pace, pretending not to listen while their attention fixed on the scene unfolding near the fountain. Marcus felt their eyes on him, felt the weight of being made into a spectacle. Derek attempted to regain control. Ms. Chase, with respect, hiring decisions involve multiple factors. Culture fit, professional presentation. Victoria's voice dropped to ice-cold precision, each word landing with the force of a gavel. Let me be very clear, Derek. Culture fit and professional image are not code words for class discrimination in this company. Mr. Webb has more customer service experience than half our front desk team. He knows this building better than most executives. The only thing he lacks is a credential you didn't require and a background you decided doesn't look right. That's bias. And it stops right now. Derek's face flushed red. Jessica stared at her iPad. Thomas's jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. Marcus stood watching 3 people who'd dismissed him 40 minutes ago squirm under public correction. Vindication felt less satisfying than he'd imagined. Mostly, it just felt exhausting. Jessica tried one more defense. Ms. Chase, we were following standard evaluation practices. Then the practices are broken. I'll address that systemically. But right now I'm addressing this specific case. Victoria paused, letting her words settle. I'm overturning the decision to reject Mr. Webb. He deserves a fair evaluation, one not clouded by assumptions about his background. Derek started to protest. Ms. Chase, I don't think. The decision is final. Not open for discussion. Victoria turned to Marcus. Mr. Webb, I need to speak with you privately about next steps. Are you willing? Yes, ma'am. Good. She looked back at Derek and his team. You're dismissed. The 3 of them stood frozen for a moment, disbelief painted across their faces. They'd just been publicly reprimanded by the CEO in front of the person they'd rejected and anyone else within earshot. Derek nodded stiffly. Jessica and Thomas followed him back toward the elevators without a word. As the elevator doors closed, Marcus caught Derek's expression through the gap. Humiliation mixed with anger that would curdle into resentment. Marcus spoke quietly. They're going to hate me. Possibly, but they'll respect the process, and that matters more than whether they like you. Victoria led Marcus to a private elevator bank requiring key card access. They rode to 30 in silence, Marcus acutely aware that he'd never been to the executive floors. Even as a janitor, these levels had their own cleaning crew. The elevator opened onto plush carpet, mahogany walls, abstract art pieces that probably cost more than Marcus earned in a year. The atmosphere whispered money and power in every detail. Victoria's office occupied a corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan and the entire Chicago skyline. The desk was minimalist, sleek glass and chrome. Bookshelves held business texts and industry reports. No family photos anywhere. She gestured to a sitting area, 2 chairs facing each other with a small table between them. Not behind the desk where power dynamics would have been unmistakable. Equal ground again. They sat. Mr. Webb, I need to be honest with you. I cannot put you into the front desk position immediately. Marcus had expected this. I understand. No, you don't. Not because you can't do the job, because it wouldn't be fair to you. She leaned forward slightly. If I override Derek completely and place you there tomorrow, you walk into a hostile environment. Derek resents being corrected. Jessica and Thomas will see you as a charity case. Other front desk staff will hear rumors. They'll undermine you at every opportunity. You'll fail not because you lack ability, but because you lack support. So what are you offering? An 8-week intensive training program. You'll work with Claire Donovan, our training director. She ran front desk operations at the Ritz-Carlton, Chicago for 15 years before I recruited her. She'll teach you our systems, you'll shadow our best employees, and you'll prove yourself through performance nobody can question. And during those 8 weeks, you'll be paid at an annual rate of $54,000 prorated daily. Full health insurance starts immediately, medical, dental, vision. Coverage for you and Ethan. Marcus's breath caught at hearing his son's name. She knew. Of course she knew. His voice came carefully controlled. How do you know my son's name? Victoria showed no apology for the invasion. After Eleanor mentioned you, I had HR pull your file. I saw a pattern. You request schedule flexibility around school hours. You've called out sick exactly 4 times in 3 years, all dates matching Ethan's emergency room admissions according to insurance claims filed. You're not just a good employee who happens to have a child. You're a devoted father making impossible choices every single day. Marcus felt the walls he'd built start to crack. Why are you doing this, Shilly? Victoria stood and walked to the window, her back to Marcus. Silence stretched for 10 seconds. When she spoke, her voice carried something Marcus hadn't heard before, vulnerability. 18 years ago, I was 24 with a business degree from University of Illinois. Not Ivy League, no connections, no family money, just a business plan for a courier company and $5,000 from a credit union loan. I pitched to 9 venture capitalists. All of them said no. The reasons, she turned to face him. Too young, no pedigree, wrong school, insufficient experience. One of them literally told me, honey, come back when you have an MBA from a real university. Marcus saw pain in her eyes, 18 years old, but still fresh, still capable of drawing blood. The 10th investor was Grant Peterson, a former factory worker who'd built a small investment fund. He gave me $500,000. Do you know what he said? Marcus shook his head. You don't have the background they're looking for, but you have fire. I recognize it because I had the same fire when I started. Don't let them tell you you're not good enough. Victoria's expression hardened into determination. I built this company on one principal: merit over background, performance over pedigree. I will not let it become the kind of place that rejected me. I won't let Derek's bias become our culture. So this is about proving a point. This is about doing what's right. And yes, proving that the values I claim aren't just marketing bullshit. Marcus asked the hardest question. What if I fail the training program? Victoria didn't hesitate. Then you return to your night shift position. You're no worse off than you are right now, but I don't think you'll fail. How can you be sure? Because I've been watching you for 2 months, not just that 32-minute interview. After Eleanor mentioned you, I occasionally reviewed security footage. The janitor who organized cleaning supplies by building zones to optimize efficiency. That was you. The person who reported the loose stair railing on floor 12 before anyone tripped you. You see systems, Mr. Webb. You solve problems people don't notice exist. That's rare. Something shifted in Marcus's chest, not quite hope, but the ghost of it. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, someone saw him as more than the sum of his circumstances. When do I start? Monday, 8 a.m. HR will process paperwork Friday. Insurance becomes active immediately. You can pick up Ethan's prescription this weekend. Marcus's voice cracked slightly despite his best effort to control it. Symbicort, $340. The doctor said he needs it. Victoria's expression softened just enough to be human. With our insurance, it's a $30 copay. I suggest you get it before Monday so Ethan breathes easier this weekend. Marcus couldn't speak. He could only nod. Victoria extended her hand. "Welcome to Chase Global, Mr. Webb. Officially this time." Marcus shook firm, equal, sealing something that felt like a covenant rather than a contract. Marcus picked up Ethan from school at 3:15, saying nothing during the drive home. Ethan sensed something and asked the question carefully. "Dad, did the interview go okay?" Marcus kept his eyes on the road. "It's complicated, buddy." "That means no right." "Not exactly. Let's talk at home." Home. Marcus made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, sliced an apple, poured chocolate milk. They sat at the kitchen table that had witnessed 1,000 meals and almost as many conversations about things an 8-year-old shouldn't have to think about. "The interview didn't go the way I hoped. They said no, they thought I wasn't the right fit." Ethan's face fell, trying not to show disappointment and failing. "Oh, but something happened after. The CEO, the person who runs the entire company, she saw the interview. She said what they did was wrong. She's giving me something better." Ethan's eyebrows rose with cautious confusion. "Better than the job, a training program. 8 weeks learning everything about how the front desk works. If I complete it successfully, I get the position. But more important," Marcus paused, making sure his son heard this clearly, "the insurance starts right away. Tomorrow I can pick up your new medicine." Ethan went very still. His hands stopped moving the sandwich around his plate. When he spoke, his voice came out small and careful. "The Symbicort. The one Dr. Mitchell talked about." "Yes." Ethan didn't react for several seconds. Then quietly, almost to himself, "So, I won't wake up not being able to breathe anymore." The words hit Marcus like a fist to the chest. How many nights had Ethan woken up, panicking lungs, seizing fear written across his small face? How many times had Marcus held his son through an attack, feeling helpless and furious at a system that put price tags on breathing? Marcus moved his chair closer and pulled Ethan against his side. "You're going to breathe easier, I promise." Ethan leaned into his father, his small body shaking slightly, but not crying. After a minute, he pulled back with a serious expression. "Dad, what if the people at the training are mean to you because the boss made them give you a chance?" The question demonstrated an understanding of office politics that no 8-year-old should possess. But Ethan had learned early that the world operated on hierarchies and resentments. "Then I'll work twice as hard until they can't be mean anymore. I'll prove them wrong." "You promise you won't quit?" "I promise. Not for me. For you." Ethan nodded, accepting the vow. "Okay. I trust you." Monday morning, 8 o'clock sharp. Marcus arrived at the training room on floor 12, wearing Henry Sullivan's suit. He'd bought an identical second suit from Men's Warehouse outlet for $150 because he couldn't keep borrowing from a dead man. New notebook. 3 pens. Determined not to be the person who came unprepared. The training room held a conference table, whiteboard projector, and coffee station. 5 other trainees had already arrived, laptops open, coffee cups in hand, the casual confidence of people accustomed to professional environments. Amber Chen, 24. Asian American, wore a Ralph Lauren suit and carried the latest MacBook Pro. Her USC hospitality degree was probably listed on the resume she'd submitted, with the easy assumption that credentials open doors. Jake Morrison, 26, white, Cornell graduate. Tom Ford, suit, reviewing notes on an iPad with the fluid comfort of someone for whom technology was a native language rather than a learned skill. Rachel Cooper, 25, white, wore a Tory Burch suit and an Apple Watch that probably cost what Marcus paid for a month's rent. Her MBA from University of Chicago Booth School of Business suggested she was overqualified for front desk work and knew it. Michael Torres, 27, Mexican-American hotel management degree, professional demeanor, checking his phone with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd worked hospitality before. Danielle Brooks, 23, White carried a designer bag and wore expensive jewelry that whispered family money. Her Northwestern degree came with the additional credential of having a father on Chase Global's board of directors. Then Marcus, 35 State School of Hard Knocks former janitor, borrowed credibility worn like armor that didn't quite fit. They all looked up when he entered. Small nods, polite smiles, assessing eyes calculating where he fit in hierarchies they'd spent their entire lives learning to navigate. At 8 o'clock, exactly, the door opened and Claire Donovan entered. 52 years old Irish immigrant who'd come to Chicago 30 years ago, gray hair in a severe bun, navy pantsuit, military straight posture, eyes that missed absolutely nothing. She set her briefcase down and surveyed the room with the expression of a drill sergeant evaluating raw recruits. "Good morning. I'm Claire Donovan, training director. I ran front desk operations at the Ritz-Carlton, Chicago for 15 years before Ms. Chase recruited me to develop training programs here. I've trained over 200 hospitality professionals. Some now manage luxury hotels globally. Others failed out in the first week." She let that sink in before continuing. "I don't care where you came from. I don't care what degrees you have. I care about one thing. Can you do this job when the pressure's on? The guest is angry, the systems are down, and you're exhausted. Everything else is noise." Claire walked to the whiteboard and wrote in sharp, clear letters, "Excellence equals consistency under pressure. 8 weeks. You'll learn systems, protocols, crisis management, client relations. At the end, I evaluate. Pass, you get a front desk position. Fail. Thank you for your time." She scanned their faces. Questions. Silence. "Good. Let's begin." The first exercise came at 10 o'clock. Claire would play an angry client. Each trainee had to handle the situation. Grading criteria: professionalism, problem solving, empathy, composure. Amber went first. Claire adopted the persona of a furious client. "I scheduled a meeting with the CEO 10 minutes ago. Your front desk told me the wrong conference room. I missed the first 10 minutes. Completely unacceptable." Amber delivered a textbook perfect response, calm and professional. "I sincerely apologize for the confusion, ma'am. Let me escort you immediately to the correct room and notify Ms. Chase's assistant of your arrival. Would you like water or coffee while I arrange everything?" "What about the inconvenience I've suffered? I completely understand your frustration. Would you allow me to follow up after your meeting to ensure this never happens again?" Claire broke character. "Good. Professional. Technically correct." A pause. "But robotic. No genuine warmth. 7 out of 10. Jake performed next, smooth, multilingual charm, but it felt calculated. Claire gave him 6.5 for being too salesy. Rachel overcomplicated her response with corporate jargon. 6 out of 10 for losing sight of what guests actually cared about. Michael delivered solid warmth and even offered to communicate in Spanish if needed. 8 out of 10. Danielle became defensive and slightly condescending, making the client feel stupid for being upset. 5 out of 10. Marcus's turn arrived. Claire presented the same scenario. "Wrong room, missed my meeting. This is completely unacceptable." Marcus didn't immediately jump to solutions. He addressed the emotion first. "Ma'am, I am truly sorry. That's frustrating, especially when you arrived on time and we made the error. That's on us, not you." Claire stayed in character, slightly mollified. "Well, yes. Let me personally escort you right now. I'll notify Ms. Chase's office that you're here. They'll brief you on anything you missed, and I'll give you my direct number. Next time you visit, call me beforehand. I'll personally verify every detail is perfect." Claire tested him further. "Why should I trust this won't happen again?" "Because I'll personally verify the room assignment every time, and I'll retrain the staff member who made the error. We learn from mistakes. You deserve better service. I promise you'll receive it." Claire broke character and studied Marcus for 5 seconds. You addressed the emotion before offering solutions. You took personal accountability. You transformed a complaint into an opportunity to build relationship. 9 out of 10. During lunch break, Amber approached Marcus at the coffee station with friendly curiosity. That was impressive. You worked hospitality before 8 years, hotel front desk and management. Which hotel? Riverside. South Loop? Amber didn't recognize the name. It was a 3-star property, not the luxury establishment she'd interned at. Oh, cool. Polite, but dismissive. Jake joined them. Dude, Claire loved your answer. Where'd you learn that empathy technique? Marcus gave simple truth, from dealing with people who'd been ignored too long. You listen first, solve second. Jake nodded with genuine interest. Smart approach. From across the room, Danielle's voice carried loud enough to ensure everyone heard. I heard he was literally cleaning toilets here last month. This is so awkward. Rachel, sitting beside her, shifted uncomfortably. Danielle, what? It's true. How's someone supposed to go from janitor to front desk? That's not how careers work. The room went quiet. Everyone heard. Everyone pretended they hadn't. Marcus had a choice: confront, ignore, or leave. He chose dignity. Turned to face Danielle directly, voice calm and level. You're right. It's not a typical career path. I worked custodial for 3 years to support my son after my wife died. Not glamorous, but I showed up every night, worked hard, learned this building inside out. Now I'm here. Same program as you. If that bothers you, that's your problem, not mine. He turned back to his coffee. Silence stretched thick and uncomfortable. Claire appeared in the doorway. She'd heard everything. Mr. Webb is correct. I don't care about your past jobs. I care about your performance here, and so far he's outperforming some of you. She looked directly at Danielle. Anyone who has a problem with that, the door's right there. Week 2 shifted to technical training computer systems that separated those who'd grown up with technology from those who'd learned it as adults. The CRM software ran on Salesforce scheduling, used Microsoft booking security protocols operated through Chase Global's proprietary system. Communication flowed through Slack and Teams with protocols Marcus had never encountered. Amber navigated the interfaces like breathing. Jake moved through screens with casual mastery. Rachel already knew Salesforce from her McKinsey days. Marcus typed slowly, his fingers hunting for keys, his brain working to translate commands into muscle memory that didn't exist yet. He was comfortable with basics: email, Word, simple spreadsheets. This felt like learning a foreign language while everyone else was already fluent. The exercise came on day 8, process 10 visitor check-ins using the CRM system in 15 minutes. Results appeared on the screen Claire projected for everyone to see. Amber, 10 out of 10, finished in 12 minutes. Jake, 10 out of 10, 13 minutes. Rachel, 10 out of 10, 11 minutes. Michael, 9 out of 10, 14 minutes. Danielle, 8 out of 10, 15 minutes. Marcus, 7 out of 10, 16 minutes. Overtime. Claire spoke to him privately after class, her voice carrying neither sympathy nor condemnation, just assessment. You're behind on technical speed. I know. I'm practicing. Practice harder. You have 6 weeks remaining. That night at 11:30, after Ethan was asleep, Marcus opened his laptop and worked through the CRM simulation Claire had provided. Process a check-in. Again. Again. His fingers felt clumsy on the keyboard. His eyes struggled to track multiple screens. His brain fought against interfaces designed for people half his age. 1 o'clock in the morning. Eyes burning. Still practicing. Ethan appeared from the bedroom, rubbing his eyes. Dad, you need sleep. Not yet, buddy. I'm catching up. Ethan sat beside him on the sofa, watching the screen with serious attention. If you get sick, you can't help me. The 8-year-old logic hit home. Marcus realized his son was parenting him, worried about his father's health, the way Marcus worried about Ethan's breathing. Okay, 15 more minutes. Promise. Day 11 brought the retest. Same exercise, same time limit. Marcus had practiced every night. His fingers had memorized keystrokes. His eyes had learned screen layouts. The movements came smoother now, less thinking required. Results. Amber 10 out of 10 10 minutes. She was improving too. Marcus 10 out of 10 14 minutes and 30 seconds, just under the limit. Claire checked his work with the thoroughness of someone looking for any excuse to criticize. 0 errors. Better, but Amber's faster. Marcus felt frustration rise like bile. I'll never be as fast as her. She grew up with this technology. I didn't. Claire sat down beside him, her severity softening just enough to reveal the teacher beneath the taskmaster. Mr. Webb, you're correct. You'll never be as fast as Amber. Do you know why? Because Amber rushes. I checked her work yesterday. She made 3 small errors, wrong room assignments, typos in guest names. Small mistakes. But in hospitality, small errors become big problems. You 0 errors, every single time. You're slow because you're careful. Those are different strengths, Mr. Webb. She leaned forward, her Irish accent becoming more pronounced as her intensity increased. Don't compete to be them. Compete to be the best version of yourself. Fast with errors is useless. Thorough with consistency wins. Something clicked in Marcus's understanding. He wasn't racing against Amber's speed. He was building his own foundation of accuracy that couldn't be rushed. So I focus on precision, not pace. Exactly. Own the strengths you have. Stop apologizing for the ones you don't. Week 4 introduced real-world shadowing. Trainees rotated through the actual front desk, partnered with experienced staff, learning the unwritten rules that no manual could teach. Marcus was paired with Robert Martinez, 48 years old Mexican-American senior front desk manager who'd worked at Chase Global for 6 years. Before that, 12 years on the Ford assembly line in Detroit until the plant closed in 2012. He'd relocated to Chicago, started entry-level at the front desk, and climbed through sheer competence. Day 22, Monday morning, 8 o'clock. Robert met Marcus at the lobby desk with a firm handshake and direct assessment. I heard about you. CEO overruled HR. That takes either courage or stupidity. Which is it? Marcus appreciated the bluntness. Bit of both. Robert's mouth quirked into a small smile. Honest. Good. He gestured toward the lobby. I'll tell you something. I worked factory line for 12 years. Got laid off when the plant closed, 45 years old. No college degree. No prospects. Took this front desk job because I was desperate. People looked at me the way they look at you now. Factory worker trying white-collar work. Took me 3 years to prove myself. Now I'm senior. Why are you telling me this? Because you know what happens if you get this job. Every mistake you make, people will say, see, he didn't earn it. So don't make mistakes. Marcus met his eyes directly. I don't plan to. Plans don't matter. Execution does. Watch and learn. Robert taught him to read people. A nervous young man entered the lobby, hands fidgeting, checking his phone every 20 seconds, arriving 25 minutes early. Robert pointed subtly. See him? Yeah. First-time visitor, interview candidate. I know because fidgeting hands mean anxiety, excessive phone checking shows he's confirming details, early arrival means he's overcompensating for fear of being late. Regular visitors walk in confident. New ones broadcast nervousness. What do? Offer water. Tell him where the restroom is, reassure him about wait time. Small gestures that ease stress. That's the job, seeing what people need before they ask. A delivery driver approached, impatient and rushed. Package for floor 18. Just let me up. Robert responded politely but firmly. ID and authorization number, please. The driver's frustration sharpened. Come on, I'm here every week. Policy requires authorization every time. No exceptions, takes 2 minutes, or you can wait 20 while security clears you manually. The driver grumbled but provided the information. After he left, Robert turned to Marcus. Never been security protocol. Not for convenience. Not because someone's a regular. One breach and you're responsible. At 10:30, Victoria Chase walked through the lobby with 2 board members. Robert immediately stood straighter, his professional smile engaging without being obsequious. "Good morning, Ms. Chase." Victoria gave a brief nod. "Good morning, Robert." Robert waited until she entered the elevator before sitting again. Marcus absorbed the gesture. "You always stand for CEO and board members." "Yes. Regular executives." "No, that's too much. But top leadership deserves visible respect. They notice these things." Day 24 brought Marcus's first real test. A vendor grew loud about slow authorization, his voice rising in the lobby as other visitors began to stare. Robert stepped back and whispered to Marcus, "Handle this." Marcus's heart rate spiked. "What? Go. I'm watching." Marcus approached the agitated vendor, keeping his own voice calm and his posture relaxed, Claire's training about not matching aggression with aggression. "Sir, I understand you're on a deadline. I'm not trying to make your day harder. Give me 90 seconds to call the department and get you cleared, or we can waste both our time arguing about policy neither of us can change." The vendor deflated slightly, recognizing reason when it appeared. "Fine. Make the call." Marcus called obtained authorization in 60 seconds and personally escorted the man to the elevator. When he returned, Robert nodded approval. "Good. You didn't escalate. You didn't take it personally. You solved the problem. That's 80% of this job. What's the other 20? Surviving people who want you to fail. That's harder." Week 6, Day 38. Wednesday afternoon, 2:30. Marcus and Rachel were shadowing together during a particularly busy period, multiple conferences happening simultaneously, visitors streaming through the lobby, phones ringing constantly. An elderly woman entered, moving slowly, visibly disoriented. Dorothy Harper, 76, expensive wool coat, pearl necklace, the bearing of old money and established power. She was scheduled for a 3 o'clock meeting with Victoria Chase. The reception desk was overwhelmed. Rachel handled a rapid sequence of check-ins, her attention divided across 3 conversations and 2 phone lines. Marcus noticed Dorothy leaning heavily on the counter, her left hand trembling against the marble surface. Her face showed subtle asymmetry, the right side drooping almost imperceptibly. Recognition fired through Marcus's brain like alarm bells. Sarah's mother had suffered a stroke in 2010. Marcus had learned the warning signs, then studied them obsessively in case Ethan ever showed symptoms of any medical emergency. FAST protocol. Face drooping. Arm weakness. Speech. Difficulty. Time to call 911. Dorothy showed all 3 signs. Marcus moved to her side, his voice gentle and steady. "Mrs. Harper, I see you're scheduled for 3 o'clock with Ms. Chase. May I help you to a seat?" Dorothy's confusion deepened, her speech slightly slurred. Yes. Which floor, I forget." Marcus guided her to a bench, helping her sit while his mind raced through possibilities. Stroke. Definitely stroke symptoms. How long had they been present? Minutes, hours. He spoke quietly to Rachel. Urgency controlled but unmistakable. "Call building medical, now!" Rachel looked up from her computer, confused. "Why, she's just possible stroke. Call them, right now." Rachel hesitated for 2 seconds, 2 seconds that felt like hours before dialing. Marcus returned to Dorothy, keeping his voice calm while his heart hammered. "Mrs. Harper, when did you last eat?" "This morning, I think." Building medical arrived in 3 minutes. Paramedics came 6 minutes after that. They assessed Dorothy quickly, mild stroke, technically a TIA or transient ischemic attack, blood pressure, dangerously elevated at 180/110. They transported her to Northwestern Memorial immediately. At 4:15, Victoria appeared in the lobby, her expression serious as she scanned the area, and found Marcus. "Mr. Webb, my office. Now." Marcus followed, anxiety tightening his chest. Had he overreacted, caused unnecessary panic, violated some protocol he didn't know existed? Victoria's office felt different this time, less welcoming, more interrogation room. She sat behind her desk, the power dynamic clearly established. "Robert told me what happened. Dorothy Harper had a mild stroke. The doctor said your immediate recognition prevented it from becoming severe. Permanent neurological damage was avoided because you called for help within minutes of symptom onset." Marcus's relief was physical. "I just recognized the signs." "How?" "My wife's mother. She had a stroke when Sarah was still alive. I learned the protocol, then face-arm speech time. Dorothy showed all 3 warning signs. Better safe than sorry." Victoria studied him with an intensity that felt like being examined under a microscope. "That's the second time you've saved someone in this building. Eleanor with hypoglycemia. Now Dorothy with a stroke. You see things other people miss." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I just pay attention." "Exactly. That's exactly what this job requires." Victoria's expression shifted to something resembling respect rather than mere approval. "Dorothy called from the hospital. She specifically asked me to find the young man at the front desk who saved my life, and thank him. I told her your name. She said, promote him immediately." "I don't want a promotion based on gratitude." Victoria raised a hand, cutting him off. "I'm not promoting you. You haven't finished the program. But you're earning respect. There's a significant difference. Complete your training. Prove you deserve the position on merit. Then we'll discuss your future." "Understood." That evening, Amber approached Marcus as he was leaving the building. "Hey, I heard what you did with Dorothy Harper. That was really impressive." "Thanks." Amber hesitated, choosing her words with visible care. "I completely missed that she was in distress. I was so focused on processing check-ins efficiently that I didn't actually see her. You saw immediately. How? Experience, I guess. When you take care of someone with chronic health issues, you learn to read warning signs. Your son, the asthma, that's why you knew." Marcus was mildly surprised she'd made the connection. "Yeah." Amber's expression shifted to something like thoughtful realization. "Maybe there's something to what Claire keeps saying about experience. Not just formal training from schools. Life experience. Real situations. Both matter. You have education I don't, but I have different training, different strengths. Claire said that exact thing. I thought she was just being nice to you. Maybe she actually meant it." The first genuine crack appeared in the wall between Marcus and the other trainees, a recognition that credentials and experience weren't competing values, but complementary ones. Week 8, Day 54, Friday, November 20th, Final Evaluation Day. Each trainee would face 3 live scenarios graded by a panel: Claire Donovan, Robert Martinez, and 1 executive observer. Marcus's panel included Claire Robert and Derek Hammond. Derek had insisted on being part of Marcus's evaluation. Victoria had allowed it with a warning: if you're biased, it will show. If you're fair, even better. Marcus saw Derek enter the observation room and take his seat at the panel table. Derek's face showed professional neutrality, no warmth, but no visible hostility either. Marcus couldn't control whether Derek sabotaged him. He could only control his own performance. Scenario 1. Arrogant VIP client. An actor played a stereotypical Silicon Valley tech CEO, young, entitled, dismissive of anyone he perceived as beneath him. "I booked boardroom A. Your system says it's unavailable. Fix this immediately." Marcus checked the system calmly. "Sir, boardroom A is reserved from 10 to noon today. Your booking begins at noon." "I don't care who's in there. I need that room now. Remove them. Marcus kept his voice firm but respectful. I cannot interrupt an existing meeting. However, I have a solution. Boardroom B is available immediately. Same capacity, superior AV setup. I'll personally escort you there and ensure everything's configured exactly to your specifications. Boardroom B sounds second-rate. Actually, sir, it's normally reserved for executive presentations, 4K projector built-in recording system, enhanced acoustics. Based on your company's Series B announcement I read in the Wall Street Journal this morning, I imagine you're recording a pitch for investors. Boardroom B provides better recording quality. It's genuinely the superior choice for your needs. The CEO's demeanor shifted, surprised that Marcus knew about his company. But you read about the Series B. I make it a point to know what our clients are working on. Better service when I understand context. The actor broke character, slightly impressed. Good answer. Derek wrote notes. Marcus couldn't read his expression. Scenario 2, security protocol versus board member privilege. An actor played a board member who'd forgotten his ID badge. I'm Thomas Whitmore. I'm on the board. Just let me up. Marcus maintained polite firmness. Mr. Whitmore, I apologize for the inconvenience. Company policy requires ID verification for everyone, no exceptions, including board members. I can call your assistant to bring your badge down, or security can issue a temporary badge in approximately 3 minutes. The actor tested him. Do you know who I am? Yes, sir. You serve on our board, and I still need to verify your identity before granting building access. Ms. Chase herself scans her badge. The policy applies equally. The actor broke character with a smile. Excellent. Never compromise security for convenience. Derek made additional notes. Scenario 3, medical emergency. A female actor suddenly collapsed in the lobby simulating a seizure. Marcus responded immediately. Called building medical with specific information. Medical emergency main lobby appears to be seizure activity. Cleared space around the person directing onlookers back to prevent crowding. Didn't attempt to restrain the actor, correct protocol as restraining during seizures causes injury. Spoke calmly to the person. Medical team is coming. You're safe. Timed the seizure duration on his watch under 5 minutes, typically isn't critical. Positioned the actor on her side in recovery position to prevent choking. Had Rachel standing by with water for afterward. Building medical arrived and confirmed Marcus had executed every step correctly. Claire asked the obvious question. Where did you learn seizure protocol? My son has asthma. When you're the parent of a child with a chronic medical condition, you learn emergency protocols for every possible scenario. Seizures, allergic reactions, respiratory distress, you prepare for all of it, just in case. Claire, Robert, and Derek all made notes. A 10-minute break followed. Marcus waited outside the room, heart pounding, despite his outward calm. Derek emerged and approached him in the hallway. Marcus tensed, preparing for criticism, or worse. Derek spoke with visible discomfort, his words chosen carefully. Mr. Webb, I need to say something. I don't expect you to accept this as sufficient, but I owe you an apology. Marcus remained silent, letting Derek continue. During your interview last month, I made assumptions about your capabilities based on your background rather than your actual qualifications. I saw Janitor without a degree and dismissed you. That was wrong. Why are you telling me this now? Derek pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a photo, a teenage boy in chef's whites grinning broadly at the camera. My son Brandon, 16 years old, he wants to be a chef. Doesn't want college, wants culinary school. My wife and I have been pushing him toward a business degree. Safe career, reliable income, respectability. Derek's voice carried something Marcus hadn't heard before: vulnerability. After watching you over these 8 weeks, how hard you've worked, how you've outperformed candidates with credentials I thought mattered, I realized I was doing to Brandon exactly what I did to you. Judging the path instead of the person. Marcus felt some of his defensive walls lower. Does Brandon love cooking? He's obsessed. Cooks dinner every night, experiments with recipes, watches culinary shows constantly. I've never seen him happier than when he's in a kitchen. Then why force him away from that? Derek's honesty was almost painful to witness. Fear. I'm afraid he'll struggle financially, afraid people will look down on him, afraid he won't be successful by the definition I've spent my life believing matters. Marcus spoke truth learned from 3 years of night shifts and hospital bills. Success isn't about titles or salary. It's about doing work you're good at, treating people right, and going home proud of what you accomplished. If Brandon has passion for cooking, support him. Trust me, he'll remember that support more than any college degree you could force on him. Derek absorbed this quietly. You learned that from experience, from watching my son be proud of me despite me not having a fancy job. Kids don't care about titles. They care that you show up. Derek extended his hand. Mr. Webb, I want you to know I'm recommending you for the front desk position based purely on merit. Not because Victoria pushed for it, not out of guilt, because you've earned it through performance that speaks for itself. I'll put that in writing. Marcus studied Derek's face and saw genuine contrition rather than political maneuvering. He shook the offered hand. I won't say what you did is okay, Mr. Hammond. You hurt me, but I accept your apology, and I hope you give Brandon the chance he deserves. Derek's expression showed something like relief, mixed with shame. That's more generous than I have any right to expect. Holding grudges takes energy I don't have. I save it for work. Day 56. Monday. Final review meetings. Claire called each trainee individually to deliver evaluations. The others went first. Amber Chen. Excellent technical skills. Natural warmth with clients. Needs to slow down and double-check details. You make careless errors when rushing. Recommendation. Front desk position. 8.5 out of 10. Jake Morrison. Strong communication, multilingual abilities are valuable. Lacks depth in crisis management. You talk smoothly but don't always solve the underlying problem. Recommendation. Front desk position with 2 additional weeks of crisis training. 7.5 out of 10. Rachel Cooper. You're overqualified for this role. Your MBA and consulting background show in how you think big picture strategy rather than immediate guest needs. Recommendation management track instead of front desk. 8 out of 10 for potential 6 out of 10 for this specific position. Michael Torres. Solid performance across all metrics. Bilingual capability is an asset. Consistent and reliable. Recommendation. Front desk position. 8 out of 10, Danielle Brooks. Claire's assessment was blunt to the point of brutal. You rely on your father's connections rather than building your own competence. Your attitude alienates colleagues. You become defensive when receiving constructive feedback. Not recommended. 5 out of 10. Danielle left the room in tears, slamming the door hard enough that everyone in the hallway heard it. Marcus entered for his evaluation. Claire sat with a thick folder of notes. Sit down, Mr. Webb. Marcus sat hands folded outwardly calm while his heart hammered against his ribs. Claire opened the folder and read in silence for 10 seconds that felt eternal. When you started this program 8 weeks ago, you were the least technically skilled trainee. You typed the slowest. You knew the least about our software systems. You had no formal hospitality training. On paper, you were the worst candidate in this group. Marcus braced himself for the word but, followed by gentle rejection. Claire looked up, making direct eye contact. Training isn't measured by where you start. It's measured by trajectory. You improved more dramatically than anyone else here. Week 1, you completed 7 out of 10 technical exercises. Week 8, you completed all 10 with 0 errors and consistent timing. More importantly, you demonstrated qualities I cannot teach through any curriculum: situational awareness crisis, instinct, genuine care for people's well-being. You didn't just learn this job's procedures, you understood why the job matters. She slid a paper across the table. Marcus read the evaluation summary. Technical skills 9-10, improved from 6-10. Customer service 10-10. Crisis management 10-10. Professionalism 10-10. Team collaboration 9-10. Overall 9. 6-10. Panel scores. Claire Donovan. Recommend. Excellent. Robert Martinez. Recommend. Top tier. Derek Hammond. Recommend. Exceeded expectations. All three evaluators, including Derek Hammond, gave you top marks. I'm recommending you for immediate placement at the front desk. You start Monday, December 7th. Marcus's voice came out barely above a whisper. Thank you. Thank you. Claire's severity softened into something approaching warmth. Don't thank me, Mr. Webb. You did this. You showed up every day. You worked harder than everyone else. You proved every doubt wrong. Now go do the job. And know this, I don't give praise that hasn't been earned. You've earned every word. Monday, December 7th, 7:45 in the morning. Marcus arrived wearing a new suit, charcoal gray, $300 from Men's Warehouse, paid for with his first training paycheck and fitted properly by a tailor. Black dress shoes polished to mirror shine. Professional haircut from an actual barber shop instead of great clips. Most importantly, Ethan's Symbicort prescription bottle sat in his briefcase. Picked up Saturday morning. Insurance copay $30. 2 days of use, and Ethan had slept through both nights without waking up gasping, the first time that had happened in 6 months. Robert Martinez waited at the front desk. Ready for this? As ready as I'll ever be. Good. Because Mondays are chaos. All weekend issues hit at once. The morning rush tested everything Marcus had learned. From 8 to 10:30, he processed 47 visitor check-ins, authorized 6 package deliveries, handled 3 phone inquiries, resolved a lost ID badge crisis, and mediated 2 conference room booking conflicts that had double-booked important meetings. He made small mistakes, sent 1 visitor to floor 12 instead of 21, caught it immediately and corrected with apologies. Misspelled a name in the system noticed during review, fixed it before the error propagated. But he corrected himself quickly, learned from each slip, didn't repeat errors. Robert observed with the critical eye of someone evaluating whether Marcus truly deserved this position. At 10:30, during a brief lull, Robert spoke quietly. You self-correct well. That matters more than perfection. At 9:30, Eleanor Whitmore entered the lobby. Late 60s elegant St. John knit suit, Tiffany pearls the bearing of old money and established connections. Slight irritation tightened her expression. She approached the desk directly. I'm here for my 9:30 with Victoria Chase. I'm 15 minutes late because your parking garage was completely full. I had to circle for 20 minutes. This is unacceptable. Marcus recognized the name instantly from Victoria's story, though Eleanor clearly didn't recognize him. She'd last seen him in janitor uniform at 2 in the morning while medically distressed. Mrs. Whitmore, I sincerely apologize for the parking difficulty. Let me call Ms. Chase's office immediately to notify them of your arrival, and I'll ensure parking validates your entire garage fee. Eleanor's irritation softened slightly. Thank you. I'm already quite flustered. Would you like water while you wait? There's a comfortable seat right here away from the main traffic. Something in Marcus's voice triggered a memory. Eleanor squinted at him, studying his face. Have we met before? I feel like I know you. Marcus kept his voice gentle. We met once, ma'am, a few months ago. Recognition dawned slowly then all at once. Eleanor's eyes widened. You're the custodian. The one who helped me when I— Yes, ma'am, I'm very glad you recovered completely. Eleanor looked genuinely shocked. You're working the front desk now? As of today, ma'am. Eleanor's entire demeanor transformed from stern businesswoman to warm grandmother. Good. This is exactly where you belong. You should have been here from the beginning. She opened her purse and extracted a $50 bill, pressing it into Marcus's hand despite his attempts to refuse. You saved my life twice, young man. Once with candy, once with kindness and quick thinking. Take this. Buy something nice for that son of yours. Marcus accepted, too moved to argue. Thank you, ma'am, truly. Eleanor patted his hand with genuine affection. You deserve every good thing that comes your way. At 10:15, Victoria Chase walked through the lobby with two executives discussing quarterly projections on a tablet. She passed the front desk without stopping. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Victoria gave the same small nod she'd given before. No congratulations, no praise, just acknowledgement. You're here. You're doing the work. That's sufficient. Marcus nodded back. Not celebration, just recognition that he'd earned his place. Lunch came at 12:30. Marcus ate his packed turkey sandwich in the employee cafeteria sitting by a window overlooking the Chicago River. Saving money had become habit, even though his salary could now afford cafeteria food. Robert joined him with a tray from the hot food line soup salad cornbread. Mind if I sit? Please. They ate in comfortable silence for a minute before Robert spoke. How's the morning treating you? Strange. Good strange. I keep expecting someone to tell me I'm not supposed to be here. Robert smiled knowingly. That feeling fades. Took me about 6 months. How long before you stopped feeling like an imposter? A year. Maybe longer. Robert's expression turned thoughtful. Did you ever regret leaving hotel work? Every day for the first year as a janitor, I missed feeling competent, missed the respect that came with a position people understood. Yeah, I get that. Robert set down his spoon, his voice taking on the quality of shared confession. My daughter Sophia was 10 when I started here. One day my wife packed extra lunch and Sophia brought it to me at work. She saw me in a tie working the desk, interacting professionally with people. Later, she told her friends, my dad works at Chase Global Tower downtown. The pride in her voice when she said it. Robert paused, emotion tightening his throat. That's when I knew the job itself wasn't the point. It was Sophia seeing me as someone worth being proud of. Marcus thought about Ethan saying, "You're the best dad I know," with absolute conviction despite their small apartment and second-hand furniture. Your daughter's lucky. She has a dad who fights for her. Your son's luckier. You're giving him something I didn't fully give Sophia until later. You're showing him it's possible to change your circumstances through sheer determination. That's the greatest gift a father can give. Did Sophia break the pattern college? Robert's pride was palpable. DePaul University, junior year, business major. First person in our family to attend college. She wants to work in finance. You must be incredibly proud. Every single day. They finished lunch in companionable silence, two men from working-class backgrounds who'd clawed their way into professional spaces that weren't designed to include them. 3:30 brought the moment that would define Marcus's first day more than anything else. The lobby was packed, meetings, ending new meetings, starting deliveries, arriving visitors checking in. Marcus and Robert both worked the desk managing the controlled chaos of Monday afternoon rush. A delivery driver approached clearly stressed and running behind. Tommy Sullivan, mid-40s, Irish-American FedEx uniform, worn and faded face, lined with exhaustion that came from 12-hour shifts and dispatcher pressure. He carried a large package awkwardly. Package for floor 18. The authorization's stuck in your system. I'm way behind schedule. Can you just give me elevator access? Marcus kept his voice calm and professional. I need to call the department to verify. What's the recipient's name? Tommy's frustration sharpened into anger. Look, I've got 15 more stops. Traffic's a nightmare on the Kennedy. My dispatcher is already riding me about being late. Can you just let me up instead of making this complicated? Robert started to intervene. Sir, we need to follow security protocol. Tommy exploded, his voice rising loud enough that everyone in the lobby turned to stare. Protocol. You people sit here in your climate-controlled building, wearing nice clothes while guys like me break our backs for $17 an hour. 12-hour shifts with no real breaks. Bosses treating us like we're disposable. You think you're better than me because you wear a tie. The lobby went completely silent. 20-plus people watching. Security guard, Tony, half stood at his desk ready to intervene if the situation escalated further. Marcus had 3 options: call security and remove the problem safely, defend himself against accusations he didn't deserve, or do something else entirely. He walked around the desk, not staying behind the barrier of authority, but standing on equal ground with Tommy. He spoke quietly enough that only the delivery driver could hear him. Sir, I don't think I'm better than you. 3 months ago, I was making $14 an hour cleaning toilets in this building at 2 in the morning. I know exactly what it's like to be exhausted behind schedule, treated like you're invisible. Bosses yelling, bills piling up, feeling like you're never enough, no matter how hard you work. Tommy's aggression faltered confusion, replacing anger. You... what? Night shift custodian. 3.5 years. I cleaned bathrooms you probably used, emptied trash, mopped floors, scrubbed things most people don't want to think about. Nothing glamorous, but it was honest work. Tommy's disbelief was written across his face. And now you're... I went through a training program. 8 weeks. Proved I could do this job. Today's actually my first day. Marcus's voice stayed level and genuine. I'm trying to keep this position. So please help me do that by giving me 90 seconds to make the authorization call and get you to floor 18. We both get what we need. Deal, Tommy deflated completely, his anger evaporating into something like shame. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, man. It's just been a really long day. I understand. Every delivery driver I've met works harder than most people realize. You deserve better treatment than you usually get. Let me make that call. Marcus called floor 18. Authorization came through in 45 seconds. He personally escorted Tommy to the elevator, shook his hand. Drive safe out there. Thanks. And hey, congratulations on the new job. The lobby had watched the entire interaction. Visitors looked impressed. Tony gave a subtle thumbs up from the security desk. Robert stared at Marcus when he returned, his expression caught between amazement and concern. That was either brilliant or completely reckless. Marcus shrugged slightly. It felt necessary. Robert's concern shifted toward grudging respect. You just de-escalated what could have become a security incident by being human instead of enforcing authority. That's not in any training manual. Some things you learn from living, not from books. At 5 o'clock, Claire Donovan appeared at the front desk. She gestured for Marcus to follow her to a quiet corner of the lobby. Her expression was stern. Robert called me about the 3:30 incident. You left your post and engaged directly with an agitated individual. That's against protocol. Marcus opened his mouth to explain. Claire raised her hand, stopping him. I'm not finished. You also prevented what could have escalated into a security problem, treated a vendor with dignity who'd been pushed to his breaking point, and resolved the entire situation in under 3 minutes. She paused. That's exactly what this job requires when done right. So I'm not in trouble. You're being watched closely. Don't make me regret defending you to people who think I'm being too lenient. Her almost smile appeared briefly. First day and you're already making waves. Typical Shida. 2 weeks passed. Marcus built his reputation, one interaction at a time. Day 3, a female executive he'd seen during training, shadowing, remembered him when she came through the lobby. Good morning, Ms. Chen. Meeting with legal on 14. Sarah Chen looked surprised and pleased. Yes. How did you remember? You mentioned it last Friday. I noted it in the system. Word spread, the new front desk coordinator actually pays attention. Day 5. A junior associate arrived for an interview and spilled coffee down his shirt minutes before his appointment, panicking visibly. Marcus pulled an emergency kit from under the desk, tied Penn's spare white shirt in medium breath mints. Bathrooms down the hall, clean up, good luck. The associate got the job. On his first day, he stopped by to thank Marcus and told the story to everyone he met. Day 7. Fire drill. Alarm blaring, people confused, some beginning to panic. Marcus's voice cut through the chaos, calm and clear. Everyone please proceed to the nearest stairwell. Elevators are offline during drills. Elderly guests and anyone with mobility issues, please wait here. Security will escort you separately. This is just a drill. No actual emergency. Move calmly and orderly. He stayed with an 82-year-old woman until security arrived to assist her down the stairs. She asked his name, said she'd remember it. Day 9. A client arrived with his 5-year-old son who was bored, hungry, and increasingly loud about wanting to go home. Marcus knelt to the child's eye level. Hey, buddy, I'm Marcus. What's wrong? The boy sniffled. Daddy has a boring meeting. I want to leave. Meetings are boring. But hey, do you like to draw? Marcus pulled out paper and crayons he'd bought specifically for situations like this, remembering Ethan at that age. Draw me your favorite superhero. I'll hang it behind the desk. Deal. The boy stopped crying and started drawing. 30 minutes later, the father returned to find his son happily coloring. The man shook Marcus's hand gratefully. How did you manage that? Just kept him busy, sir. Tyler's quite an artist. Tyler's Spider-Man drawing went up on the bulletin board. Other parents noticed. Marcus became known as the desk manager who keeps crayons for kids. Day 11. Danielle Brooks entered the lobby for an interview with a different department. She saw Marcus at the desk and froze, awkward tension radiating from her. She approached hesitantly. Marcus, hi. Danielle, how are you? I'm interviewing for a communications coordinator position. Different department entirely. Good luck. Danielle hesitated, then she asked the question, clearly weighing on her. Can I ask something? How did you do it? You had the least advantages of any of us. I had every advantage, degree, connections, my father on the board, yet you succeeded and I failed. Marcus chose his words carefully, offering truth without cruelty. I didn't think about advantages. I thought about what the job required and worked to meet those requirements. Nothing more complicated than that. Claire said I was entitled, that I relied on my father's connections instead of building my own competence. She was right. I'd never had to actually work for anything before. Danielle's voice carried genuine humility. You taught me well, showed me that credentials aren't enough. You're learning. That's what matters. Good luck with the interview, I mean it. She got the position. A month later, she sent Marcus a thank you card. You were right. I had to earn it. D. 3 weeks into the job, Robert approached Marcus near the end of a shift. Got a minute? Sure. I talked with Claire and Victoria. We're creating a new position, senior front desk coordinator. It splits supervisory duties between you and me. Interested? Marcus felt genuine shock. I've been here 3 weeks. And you've handled situations I've watched 10-year veterans fumble. The Tommy Sullivan incident, Dorothy Harper's stroke, Eleanor Whitmore recognition, kids crying in the lobby. fire drill management. You don't just do this job, you understand why it matters. That's rare. What about the other front desk staff? They have seniority. Robert's honesty was characteristically direct. They're good at the job. You understand the job. Big difference. Plus, I'm 48 and tired. I want to train someone to eventually take over as front desk operations manager when I retire in 18 months. That person is you. What's the timeline? Decision by Friday. Promotion effective. January 1st. Salary jumps to $68,000. You'd supervise 3 associates. Talk to Ethan. Think about it. That weekend, Marcus discussed the opportunity over pancakes he'd learned to make them properly from YouTube tutorials. Buddy, I need advice about something. Ethan put on his serious 8-year-old face. Okay. They offered me a promotion. More money, more responsibility, but also more hours sometimes. How much more money? About $16,000 more per year. Ethan calculated in his head. The kid was frighteningly good with numbers. That's like $1,300 a month. Close. About $1,100 after taxes. That's a lot. We could get a better apartment. Maybe. Eventually. Ethan asked the question that mattered most. Would you still have time for my baseball games? Marcus's chest tightened. His son was asking the right question, prioritizing their relationship over material improvement. Always, buddy. No job is more important than being your dad. Ethan thought seriously for several seconds. Then do it, Dad. We could save money. Maybe get a car that doesn't break. Maybe even college fund for me. Marcus's throat closed. You're thinking about college already. Ethan's matter-of-fact tone carried wisdom beyond his years. Mrs. Henderson says college is expensive. I don't want you to struggle to pay for me later. If you make more now, it'll be easier then. 8 years old and trying to ease his father's future burden. Deal. I'll accept the promotion. For both of us. Monday. Marcus told Robert his decision. Welcome to management. Now the real work begins.